This video was brought to you by Brilliant. Marine Le Pen is riding an unprecedented wave of popularity in France. Despite starting out more than a decade ago as a much more controversial figure on the far right, support for her and her party has risen steadily. So much so, in fact, that polling now suggests she's the most popular candidate for the 2027 presidential election, based on first-round voting preferences. So in this video, we'll take a look at Marine Le Pen's rise to prominence, why she's so popular at the moment, and whether she can actually become France's next president. So let's start by looking at Le Pen's political career. In 2011, Le Pen took over the Front National party, founded in 1972 by her father, the far-right politician Jean-Marie Le Pen. She led the party until 2022, before then becoming its parliamentary representative. For much of the 2010s, the Front National was perceived as a party of the extreme right due to Jean-Marie's multiple convictions for inciting racial hatred and comments on the use of torture in the Algerian War. But Marine Le Pen tried to distance herself from her father's views, and in 2015 expelled him from the party after he referred to the Holocaust as a mere detail of history. Le Pen then renamed the party the Rassemblement National in 2018 and set out on a rebranding mission, appointing 28-year-old Jordan Bardella as its president in 2022. Now, these efforts to modernize the party have apparently paid off, as polling shows that, for the first time, more people see the party as capable of governing than not. Plus, the RN is expected to once again win the European parliamentary elections in June, with polling suggesting the party will make significant gains, possibly hitting 30%. So why is Marine Le Pen so popular at the moment? Well, there are a few reasons at play, but here we'll discuss three main ones. 1. Le Pen's rebranding efforts. 2. Macron's immense unpopularity. And 3. The current European political climate. So firstly, Le Pen's rebranding campaign. Her efforts to de-demonize the Front National over the last 13 years seem to be working, with a general impression that Le Pen has somehow turned respectable. Under Le Pen, the RN has tried to distance itself from other far-right parties like Germany's AfD, while simultaneously getting closer to Giorgia Meloni's Brothers of Italy party by focusing on its so-called Republican values. Like Meloni, Le Pen has tried to sell her party as standing up for the little guy, which has swept up voters who feel frustrated with the current government. The RN has also questioned its extreme right label, and in August even filed a request with the French Council of State to declassify it as extreme right ahead of Senate elections, claiming the term could undermine the sincerity of the vote. While the request was rejected, debate over the RN's reputation has raged on, and several news outlets have published stories about the party's improved image in recent months. Another crucial aspect of Le Pen's rebranding strategy was to target young people with specific policies, particularly economic ones, during her 2022 presidential campaign. These included an income tax exemption for people under 30, a 5-year corporation tax exemption for young entrepreneurs, financial assistance for working students, promises to build new student housing, and free off-peak rail travel for 18 to 25-year-olds. It seems to be working too, as youth support for Le Pen has ticked up over the years, and despite finishing third among voters under 24 in the 2022 election, she led among 25 to 34-year-olds, and was far behind Macron among the over 65s, who've since fallen out of love with the president thanks to his unpopular pension reform. This brings us on to the second complementary reason, which is Macron's struggles in government. For more on this, you should check out our recent video on the French president. But to summarise quickly, Macron has seen his approval rating slump since re-election in April 2022, as he's battled protests, riots, and social unrest, particularly over his unpopular pension reform. More recently, Macron has also had some issues with his cabinet, and replaced his education minister earlier this month after it emerged the elite Catholic private school where she sent her sons was being investigated for homophobia in the classroom. In a bid to steal back support from Le Pen, Macron's government has taken a more authoritative stance on issues like national culture and citizenship, passing a hardline immigration bill in December, which Le Pen called an ideological victory for her party. Macron's government has also banned the abaya, the Muslim robe, from schools in September, and has spoken of civic rearmament in education, with La Marseillaise to be taught in primary school, civic education lessons doubled, school uniforms tested and possibly rolled out nationwide in 2026, and graduation ceremonies brought back to try and strengthen France's fractured society. Finally, the current European political climate has also helped Le Pen's ideology take root. Anti-immigration politics is basically the RN's brand, and since recent events like the Russia-Ukraine war, the Afghan refugee crisis, and a steady rise in irregular entries into Europe via the Mediterranean, the topic has re-entered European political debate in the last couple of years. Le Pen and her far-right presidential rival, Éric Zemmour, capitalized on the migration crisis in their campaigns, and the RN has promised a policy of national priority, where French nationals would be given preferential treatment for jobs, benefits, and social housing over foreigners, even those who pay taxes in France. Moreover, the emerging trend of falling trust in EU governments has created a Europe-wide surge in support for the far right, which has obviously helped Le Pen. So is Le Pen on track to become France's next president? Well, according to the latest polls, she's the current most popular candidate to win the 2027 election. An IFOP poll earlier this month indicated that if an election were held today, she'd comfortably win the first round with 36%. That's far ahead of the potential Macron successor candidates Gabriel Attal and Edouard Philippe, who would both secure 22%, while the hard-left Jean-Luc Mélenchon would get 14%. Based on the same poll, Le Pen would narrowly beat Attal in the runoff with 51%, while she draws equal with Philippe at 50%. So Marine Le Pen is evidently in a very strong position at the moment and is a strong contender for the 2027 race. But there are a lot of caveats. 2027 is still a long time away, and there are a number of potential roadblocks for Le Pen. For starters, she, her party, and other members are due to go on trial this year for embezzlement relating to a fake European Parliament jobs scandal, which could, in theory, result in a prison sentence and a 10-year ban on public office. Even if that comes to nothing, though, one underpriced scenario that could pose the biggest threat to Le Pen is if her young and popular protégé, Jordan Bardella, sees himself as the party's best candidate for president and seeks to usurp her. A lot of the stuff we talk about in our videos can often seem pretty complicated, especially when we dive deep into detailed data and economics. But there's a fun and easy way for you to learn more about these topics, which doesn't cost thousands of dollars or take years and years of studying. That's because Brilliant is the best way to learn maths, data science, and computer science interactively. And the fun thing is, it doesn't take long to learn either. These complex topics are broken down into small and accessible chunks, designed around your busy schedule, whatever your skill level. That means that if you spend just a few minutes per day, you can gain new knowledge over time in an actually fun way. As time goes on, you'll get used to that feeling of learning too, because this isn't just about sitting down and reading. Brilliant teaches you by doing, using active learning to teach you the principles of otherwise quite complex topics, and ensuring that you understand what's actually going on. So, whether you want to brush up on your math skills, improve your employment prospects by learning about future technology, or just have fun with coding, then you can check out everything that Brilliant has to offer for free for 30 days by clicking the link below. Plus, the first 200 of you to sign up will get 20% off Brilliant's premium annual subscription. Thanks for your support.